Fitness is so wrapped up in self-love and self-image, right? Many of us come into fitness because we want to change our bodies, we want to look better, we think it's something that we're supposed to do to look the part. And I very much discovered fitness in the same way. So before I'm even reaching puberty, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, I'm already aware that this world is made for one body type and that my path to success as a woman, as a young girl, will rely on me achieving this. And so that's how I came into fitness. And my goal in starting 305 was to rewrite that and to create a place where, oh gosh, imagine if every 10-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl, if her first experience with fitness was in a setting like 305 Fitness.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Friday Society podcast. This is the podcast for anybody and everybody in the health and wellness industry that wants to grow their business. I'm your host, Alexa Cawley. I'm the CEO and president of Forever Friday Consulting, where I work with private clients one-on-one to help them scale their brands and reach amazing people. On this podcast, we talk to industry leaders and experts that have built really amazing brands within the health and wellness industry to teach you how to do the exact same thing. I've worked for some of the biggest names in the health and wellness field, like Lululemon and SoulCycle, and I take everything that I've learned, plus our industry's amazing experts, and bring it to you. All right, guys, let's get into the episode. It is a really good one, so drop me a line on Instagram at foreverfriday.co, and let's get to it. Hey guys, welcome back. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be recording this because episodes are here. All of our new episodes are finally starting. I took the summer off, which you guys know. I was still recording though. I just wasn't editing and publishing episodes because things have been crazy. The membership is amazing and is growing almost every day. It feels like my events are in full swing and there's just, clients are doing amazing. Like everything is really good. But I do also do all of the podcast editing and asset creation. So, something had to give and the podcast just slowed down for a little bit, but that's totally okay. I am back and super, super excited about it. Two things I just want to say about this episode with Sadie before you start listening is, number one, the Wi-Fi was not fantastic in the beginning. So you will hear, the audio doesn't sound amazing, but that's only in the beginning. It does level out, so just stick with it. And then number two is that we do talk about the event that I'm hosting at The Wing. The Wing has since shut down, so I am now hosting it at Lululemon, which I'm super excited about. They've done panels for everyone from Gabby Bernstein to Ariana Huffington, so they are very graciously hosting me, and it's full circle because that was the store. That was my first opening, was Flatiron. So I'm really, really excited about that. More to come, or just head to Instagram if you're curious or you want to come. But you guys, okay, Sadie is phenomenal. She's such an amazing business owner. And I honestly took a lot from this episode and applied it to the way that I run my business and my boundaries and just so much. So I know you guys are going to love it, and let's get to it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Friday Society podcast. I am so excited to be here with Sadie Kurzban. She is the CEO and founder of 305 Fitness, which I know that you guys all love because as soon as I posted on social that I was having her on, you guys got really excited. Like people from all different corners of the world where there isn't even a 305 were like, oh, I love Sadie. So Sadie, welcome. And I am so, so excited to hear your story today.
Thank you, Alexa. That is an awesome intro. And I am also thrilled to be here. I'm a big fan of your podcast.
Yay. So, okay, can you tell everybody just a little bit about where you are right now and kind of just what your day-to-day has been looking like lately?
Sure. So right now in this moment, I'm in New York City where I have a home and a life and, where I'm based. But like so many people these days, I'm kind of floating around, bopping around. So I go to Miami a lot where my parents are. I go to DC where my in-laws are. And whenever there's an opportunity to travel, I usually try and pick that up as well. But I'm in New York these days. My day-to-day role as a founder is different every day, which is one of the things I love about entrepreneurship. It just never stops. The obstacles are part of the magic, honestly. So it really depends. Some days I am training instructors, coming up with new choreography, very kind of product involved. Some days I'm chatting with investors, managing expectations, looking at forecasts for how I think we'll do, adjusting, looking back at how we did. And a lot of the days I'm a manager, like many people who are listening, meaning I'm looking at where we are, where we missed, where we need to go. I'm pushing my team. I'm checking in with them. So we have a small team here at 305, operations, marketing, finance, 3 women and me. I'm very proud that it is a business entirely managed by women.
Wow,
and yeah, we get a lot done considering
I can imagine.
So yeah, it's a lot of teamwork with them.
Oh, I love that so much. Now you're still teaching, right? Because so the reason why I was like, I have to reach out to her was, and you know this because we've chatted, but I'm hosting an event at the Wing, and the woman who's helping me coordinate was like, you have to talk to Sadie. She's going to be doing something with us as well. So you're still teaching, right? Which I think is such an amazing, important.
Yes. Just taught this morning, and
nice.
Better than I've ever been. I love it. I love this class, and I love being able to share those gifts with people.
I love that so much. I think it's so important too, just for clientele to take a class from, someone in leadership. And I think that is actually something that I love about Solid Core too, is that everybody on their leadership is also a coach, and like, being a coach is part of their part-time job essentially. And I think it really keeps you connected to the business, I think, in a way that you just can't get if you're not like on the ground. So I'm curious, like what, why you sort of have stayed teaching, and if that's the reason why.
Yeah, it's definitely because I love being in the ground, on the ground. I can't imagine running this business without being connected to the day-to-day. But it just personally gives me joy. It's why I started this. It's how I started, was as a fitness instructor first. So it's probably one of my favorite parts of the job. That and interacting with instructors is definitely what fills me up. Love the teaching part.
That's amazing. All right. So let's backtrack to very early days of, dancing for you. And way before you had the idea of 305, what was your journey with fitness? Like, what did that look like for you? Did you play sports? Were you on dance teams? Like, what were the early days of fitness for you?
So fitness is so wrapped up in self-love and self-image, right? Many of us come into fitness because we want to change our bodies. We want to look better. We think it's something that we're supposed to do to look the part. And I very much discovered fitness in the same way. I grew up with 3 older sisters and a mom, a Latina household in Miami, very looks conscious place, much like Southern California. There's a lot of plastic surgery. There's a lot of pressure to look a certain way. So before I'm even reaching puberty, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, I'm already aware that this world is made for one body type, and that my path to success as a woman, as a young girl, will rely on me achieving this. It's very, kind of sad when you think about a 8-year-old or a 9-year-old understanding this way of the world. So by 4th grade, I'm documenting my calories in secret. Now, I also want to say this is before everything was on a smartphone. So this took a lot of research and work, and a lot of secrecy on my part.
Yeah.
And by 5th grade, I'm like rollerblading and trying to jog and trying to do all these things to mimic my older sisters and my mom so that I could look the part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I come from a background where, like I said, I'm part Latina. So the cultural ways that informed how I felt about myself. And then I'm part Jewish. So there's another culture there too, right? So often in Jewish culture, it's like women, we're just a head. We're a neurotic head. We're not supposed to be in our bodies. We're not, we're not supposed to like feel sexy and own it. And then on the almost complete opposite side, in Latina culture, it's like all about your body, and you have to get your man, and your man's going to be cheating if you don't watch out. So there was both this separation. I feel separate. I feel different. I feel deficient. How am I going to make it in this world? And looking at fitness as this way that I can access that acceptance from the world. And at the same time, having all of these mixed messages culturally about my place and what my body was supposed to be, what it wasn't supposed to be. And then just coupled with the everyday pains of growing up and hormone shifts and keeping up with your friends and the advent of the internet, which was also happening in the 90s and 2000s as I'm coming of age. So this is how I get into fitness at a very young age, really through the lens of pressure, of not of pleasure, of looking the part, not of feeling good. And so that's how I came into fitness. And my goal in starting 305 was to rewrite that and to create a place where, oh gosh, imagine if every 10-year-old girl, 13-year-old girl, if her first experience with fitness was in a setting like 305 Fitness, how empowering that would be.
I love that. And I think, there's so much that comes up for me too. Like I told you, I'm on a family vacation right now in Rhode Island. I have my 2 6-year-old nieces downstairs, and it's such a conversation. And it's such, it's something that we have to be aware of all the time of like, what's the conversation around body and fitness and, and loving your body, because that just wasn't the case for how so many of us grew up. And I'm, even just hearing you talk about like, you had to journal out your calories and everything. Yes, as a way to feel like you were controlling, but also to fit in with what women were doing, right? Like, because my sister is older than me, and I remember feeling the exact same way of being like, ooh, she's dieting, so like, I want to diet too. Like thinking it was just this like rite of passage almost to dislike your body. And I think that's just such an interesting thing. And I feel grateful, and I'm curious of your perspective, like this anti-diet conversation lately, I think has just been so freeing for a lot of us.
100%. They say that fat phobia is like the last bias that as a society we just openly accept. So we've gotten to a place, it's 2022, where hopefully if someone says something racist or misogynist, we at least know how to identify it and call it out. But people say fat phobic things all the time, right? Just all the time. There's this belief that if you are in a larger body, you are a bad person. We tie it to how like you are ethically and morally. We tie it to your health, which is not true, because you can be in a bigger body and be fit, and you can be in a smaller body and not be fit. So we make all these assumptions of people about how they look, and then we love to just keep people in check, especially women, based on that. And it's just, it needs to evolve. We're just at a better place in society now where that is the last frontier that we get to look at and challenge, is our resistance to people in bigger bodies, and why that's such a terrible thing for so many young girls, why we look at getting bigger, not as everybody's unique and maybe you're bigger boned and, but as this like cross to bear and this thing to always prevent and to keep in check. Just the anxiety that induces and the way that it keeps us focused on all the wrong things. So your body is your body. Your foot size is your foot size. Your hair color is your hair color. And sure, are there things that you can do to tweak it? Yeah, you can modify what you eat. You can modify your fitness routine. But a basic acceptance of this is generally my set point and what my body looks like is something that we could really do well with as a culture, because if not, we're just wasting all this time telling this myth to young people that there's actually this ideal body and you have to constantly strive to try and achieve it, instead of accepting where you are and focusing on everything else in your life, like your relationships, your career, your sense of self, or just being here on this planet to enjoy the experience instead of constantly striving.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I asked my mom one time, I was like, what percentage of your life do you think you've spent on a diet? And she was like, oh God, she was like, I don't know, 95%. And I was like,
exactly.
Oh, what?
Right.
What just a horrible thing to think how much brain power we could have used on something else, anything else, right? Like, but that's what you were thinking about was calories and all these things. And that's where it's like, I do think it's so generational. And I just, people like you, I think to just stop this conversation. And yeah, oh God, I just think it's so important.
Thank you. Yeah, we're trying every day, and there is a lot of money that has supported this myth that if you strive, you'll achieve it. And that if you look the part, you'll be loved. So everything from Victoria's Secret to supplements to fad diets, there is so much money invested in this idea. And we get to challenge it. We get to also as consumers make a decision about which brands we want to support. Do we want to support the quick fix and believe it one more time? Or do we want to accept where we are and ask ourselves if we deserve something better, if we're just ready to actually deserve and accept happiness into our lives? So that's what 305 is for. Sometimes I see people come into the class and they're so uptight and they're like, I don't like to dance. Don't make me dance. And they look miserable in the class. And it's like, all right, you're not ready to be happy. That's okay. Yeah. Plenty of workouts where someone will scream at you. That's okay. But we won't do that here. So when you're ready to be happy, you can come here to 305.
Yeah. So that is actually something I wanted to get to because, when we first started talking, you said that dance allowed you to feel like you were in your body and not against your body. And I think my question is, why this workout? Like, what about this workout allows you to feel connected to your body instead of against your body?
Well, I can go on and on. So let me tell you a little bit about some of the benefits of dance specifically. Now, I'm not a dancer. I did not grow up in a tutu. I found it as a way out of fitness diet culture and into fitness that felt good, pleasure instead of pressure, a workout that wasn't work. So that's why I love it. One is your brain, when you are dancing, you're not in this monotonous survival state. So you think about workout types. Now, I won't diss any workout types. Listen, anyone listening, if you do something that works and you enjoy it, that's awesome. I do all different kinds of things, so I support it. But I'm just, highlighting why dance is so special to me. So one, you do monotonous workouts like cycling or running or even boxing, and it's a lot of right, left, right, left, right, left. And your brain can kind of take over when you've gotten into this rhythm in those kinds of workouts, and you may just marinate on your problems. So you go for a run, you may work out some of your issues, but you may also spend 10, 20 minutes of your run thinking about that bitch at work, that problem that you don't want to look at, that conversation that you had.
Yeah.
In a dance class, everything is changing and moving every 10 seconds. So there isn't this opportunity because you're so focused on what's happening to let your brain be somewhere else. Brain and body are doing the same thing in the dance class. Another thing that's amazing for it is the way that our right and left brains work in dance. So again, that monotonous movement, yes, you're shifting, but with dance, going up, down, left, right, front, back. I mean, there's infinite permutations of dance movements. And so it's been shown to be superior for cognition, for memory, right? So they've tested this in longitudinal studies with older people. Better for your memory, for your brain to offset dementia. Dance is better than running, than Sudoku puzzles, than basically anything else out there. And then finally, there's the emotional state that you get when you're dancing. You can't be scowling and dancing. It makes you smile. It makes you laugh. You have to poke fun at yourself. You have to, not take yourself so seriously. You get to smile a little bit. You get to do these silly moves. So it also just emotionally allows you to connect with this inner state. If you ever hang out with kids, 1, 2, 3 years old, they all want to dance. You dance with them, they all want to dance. There's something just they want to dance and they want to run. They don't often say, oh, I want to grab my Peloton, right? This is an adult thing that we've created, is the sense of competition and need. But there's so much just primal joy when we get on that dance floor and shake our butts.
I love that. I love that you're not from a dance background. I just like, this is pure fun for you. And that just so totally comes through in every single one of your classes. And I love that. But I think the emphasis on, focusing on the next step and not ruminating on your problems is so massive. And that's where, obviously movement and exercise is like moving meditation. And it's so funny. Everybody else in my family loves the Peloton. And I'm like, I cannot sit for an hour when I want to be having a moving meditation and not be thinking about all the things I need to do. Like every single time I hop on the Peloton, halfway through, I get off and I'm like, I want to send that email I was thinking about. And I want to reach out to that person on the podcast that I was thinking about. Like there's no brain silence, right? And I think that's what's so important about dance and about, these workouts where you're following along and you're really in it. So I love, love, love that you brought that up.
Yeah, that's very special.
I love it. Okay. So let's talk about the aha moment. Like, was there one when you were just like, okay, this is it. It's going to be called 305. I know you have a Miami background. So what was the moment for you that you were like, this is going to be my business?
No aha moment exactly. Many, many aha moments. But when I was in college, I had this idea and I entered a business pitch competition my senior year. And I won $25,000. And I would say that was probably the biggest, first aha moment. It was like, okay, someone has validated this. I have something to start with, and you're 21, $25,000 just feels like the most money ever, So yeah. I think just that youthfulness and that drive and that, okay, one other person at least believes in this, I can do this. That was so big for me, was winning that competition. And it's just insane to think that it's been more than 10 years since that happened.
So that was when you were in college, that was your, like 305 was your business idea that you were pitching?
It was. Yeah. I was teaching these fitness dance classes. I was teaching Zumba and then I evolved it and, was experimenting with all these different formats just at the gym, the campus center. Got such a thrill out of it. Was just living my best life really. And when it came time to apply for jobs senior year, this nagging thought of, is there like a way to make this my job? My best friend was like, you can start a business. And I was like, I'm going to start a business, so I was like, okay, where do we start? Maybe there's courses in school. So yes, all of that was happening while, in a crazy time in my life, college.
Oh my God. I love that. What year was that? Just because I know we have a lot of listeners that are like the, boutique fitness OGs, right? Of like when Soul Cycle started.
So this is 2000, exactly. When I'm like serious about the idea of writing my plan, this is 2011, 2012. So at this time, Flywheel had just started. Soul Cycle maybe had like 8 locations. Physique 57 was a thing, but I'm in Providence, Rhode Island, and I don't know anything but Zumba and Les Mills. So I took a trip my senior year to New York to like see the scene. And I remember my friends were like, you should try this thing called Physique 57, and I'm writing it down like, okay, Physique 57. It was a different time. It was a different time.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So I first heard of 305 because I started working for Lululemon in 2013. And I remember I had 2 friends who worked at our location in Union Square before it was the Flatiron store. It was still in Union Square Park. And there were 2 guys who were obsessed, and they would come from work from 305. And they were like, it's unlike anything else. It's so fun. You dance, you sweat, you get a great workout. And our whole team became obsessed with 305. I'm curious, like, if you remember that. And I guess, the question I kind of want to get into is like, what were some of the moments that you really felt like in those early days, let's say 2013, 2014, that you really felt like it was taking off when you were like, okay, this is,
oh my gosh.
What did that feel like?
Of course. I cannot forget those times. Those were such happy and crazy times. And what it felt like, and this is probably what it feels like for anyone starting a business, today, the challenges 10 years later with the pandemic, they're much more like CEO challenges. I'm a little bit more not distant from the day to day, but I've just experienced things before that it's like, I've seen this movie before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is how you handle this situation, and it's not that I'm always not learning. I am, but it's just different now. In those early days, it was just me, and it was a roller coaster of emotion. I would go from feeling like this is going to take off and people like it. And oh my God, that guy came back. Any small thing was such a huge win. Yeah. And then I had my days and my hours where I thought, I'm such a loser. No one signed up for class. This is never going to take off. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody cares that I'm doing this. How am I going to compete? I want to have a studio. I'm renting out of these weird dance studios. People are going to get turned off. Why didn't that person come back? So those early days, it's like a psychological test. I think that is the hardest thing. And people always ask me, how do you know what to do next? And there was never like a lack of ideas. When you're starting out, there's a million things to do and you just have to prioritize it. But it is that confidence and that psychological resilience to say, okay, I'm going to keep going. All right, I'm going to keep learning. I'm open. That's the hardest thing in those early years. So of course, I remember those first few years because those were just, I was so wrapped up in it. I mean, wow.
Yeah. I think, even just everything you're saying is so important. And it's a point that I try to stress in almost every episode, because I know there are so many people that listen that are early days, and you are always going to teach to a class with one or two people when you're first starting out. Like, no one starts out teaching to full waitlisted classes. And even that's a struggle in a post-pandemic world of, getting to that point. But it's so important, I think, of, just people like you who are so accomplished now, just saying like, yeah, I had a long time where I was like, is someone going to come back? I don't know. Like, really second guessing yourself.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And every time I've had those near-death experiences with the business, it's over. I can't overcome this. This one is too big. This obstacle is too big. It's like, if I just hang in there and I hang on while the wind is blowing, it's always in the aftermath of that something else happens that opens up a possibility. So entrepreneurship is so much about a game of just resilience and hanging in there and being the last one standing and being willing to innovate and evolve. Yeah. I mean, if you have no competitive advantage, you don't have the capital, you don't like the one competitive advantage you can always have is that you'll never give up, so, and many people do because it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So in those early days, right, like when you did have people first coming back, what were some of the things that you were doing from, a business owner perspective and from the instructor perspective to get people to come back? Like what did that look like for you? What was your relationship building? Were you sending emails? Were you reaching out? Like, was social media even really a thing? Were people posting? Like, what were some of the tactics that you were employing to get people to come back in?
People have all kinds of ways to describe this, right? Some founders say, I surrounded myself with a team. I knew what my limitations were. I focused on what I was good at. I gave up, trust in others and I let them scale it. For me, it was just clocking in as many hours as I could a week and being there all the time and just hustle. So I would say I was a lot more, my strength was energy and a focus on everything, making everything important, which is exhausting. I look back on it and I'm like, how did I do that? But that's how I got it done. That's how I got it done, lean and mean and resourceful and just basically being there all the time. So how did I do it? Early days when I trained instructors, I was like there for all of their classes. And then I would teach my classes too. And, anything that I saw that needed coaching, I'd address it. And, any client issue, like I would address it. And, a new facilities issue, I would address it. So over time, I'm glad that I learned how to do that. Now there's people who support me, who handle all of those things, but I just did all of it at first, I do think that there is, so I come from a family of immigrants and there's such a pride in making something of yourself. And in even just having a small business, but having it be your own, such pride. Yeah. And I do think that our culture and our generation, there's a real focus on instant and on how can I work the least amount possible and make the most money. And that's just not how I know how it works. So I was not afraid to roll up my sleeves and get it done, whatever it takes, no matter, how little I slept, no matter how much I had to do, knowing that, okay, after 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, I could start to delegate and hire people. But I've just never experienced that you can be successful doing that early on. I think people step away too early. I think founders, get in over their skis. And if this is a business that you love, be there every day, 7 days a week, break your back.
Yeah. Get your hands dirty, talk to the people. Yeah. I love that. So, okay. When did you go from first studio to second studio and then eventually moving into, other locations?
First studio to second studio was actually pretty quick. I was renting from a pop, dance studios before we opened the first one. And that was a big jump. But once we opened that first one, it was like people were coming. It was really doing well. And it was a no-brainer that there was more opportunity to add more. So I was always on the lookout for that second space. I found a great location in Midtown. We're still there. And so I just took that leap, went to our clients and said, hey, this is how our first studio is doing. This is how I think our second studio is going to do. Would you like to invest? Put it together, made it all happen. So I would say maybe it was within a year that we opened up that second location.
Wow. That's amazing. And then and then DC, when did that come about?
DC was around the same time that we opened that first one. We launched a pop-up in DC. Oh. So we had the 2 studios, a pop-up in DC, and then the DC studio was number 3 before we opened more in New York.
Got it. What did you look for when you opened a pop-up to really, figure out if this was going to be a sustainable business for you? Because I know a lot of people, I think about doing summer pop-ups and, things like that. So what were some of the metrics you were looking for?
I like the seasonal pop-ups. We've kind of evolved the model now when we do pop-ups to be seasonal because it is a lot to commit to operating indefinitely. What were some of the metrics? I mean, look, what you need to operate the business is talent, a customer base, and a venue. So if we had all those 3 things, we were going to keep going, is the short of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I love that. And then last question, I guess, before we get into rapid fire stuff, when you are looking for instructors, right? Because I know for a lot of my private clients, sourcing great talent has always sort of been a conversation. So I feel like 305 is one of those places where every instructor is amazing. What do you look for when you're hiring an instructor? And what are some of the things that you sort of can say to yourself, like, okay, they don't have that, but that can be learned?
We look for technical ability. So rhythm, dance ability. We look for confidence, projection, how they stand up in front of a room. Mm-hmm. And we look for passion and a genuine love of helping others and being a leader.
Yeah.
We do not hire people who are divas.
Yeah.
I will not tolerate people who are spending their time being negative and talking shit. I just won't. So I think it's as much hiring as them keeping up the expectations. And listen, it takes time. It's a lot of nurturing. It's a lot of conversations. Sometimes people aren't on the same page. Got to pull them aside. Hey, look, I heard this or I saw this. Let's have a conversation about it. Mm-hmm. I offer a lot of, I try as best as we can to offer professional development. So that could be special workshops, advanced teaching workshops. It could be me just popping into class and giving feedback.
Yeah.
But it's not like once they're trained and on the schedule, it's done.
Yeah.
They're artists, so they always want to feel like they're evolving.
Yeah.
And divas, just nip it in the bud. It's not worth it. There's so many people out there who really are committed to the art of helping others. Yeah. And then you've got people out there who are like, oh, great, I get paid to work out. No, you don't want that, right? They can go somewhere else. So I think it's also just about knowing who you are. I will say also, because I know a lot of your audience are women.
Yep.
You have to support yourself. Mm-hmm. You hire people to support you, right? Mm-hmm. You have to support yourself first. So do not sit there supporting everybody and wondering, why can't they support me? Of course they can't support you. They can't even support themselves. They can't even, they're not getting their life together on their own. So they are not in a place to support you. And just being honest and looking at that rather than trying to save everybody and be everybody's mom. I truly believe this. As a female boss, people look at you and they see mom. We can't help it. It's like a subconscious thing. They see mom, they see nipple, they see milk.
Yeah.
They want their hand held. They just have different expectations of you than if you were a man. I really, really believe this. And I have great talent who is so respectful to me. Yeah. And yet I still believe this because it's just like, it's been my experience. So you are not here to give your milk. You're not here to save everybody. You are here to run a business. And sometimes that just means that you have to support yourself. You cannot hold on to people who are not supporting you. They will be happier somewhere else.
Yeah, 100%. I love that. It's so, so important. And you're so right. Like I've had a lot of female founders on the podcast that say, you know, if I were a man, it would have been different. And like, you know, there is, I think, so much nurturing that we do look to women for. And it's almost like people get so offended if a woman is not soft and warm or is not behaving in a way of a doormat sometimes. And I think some people tend to get so angry about that. And it's just fascinating that I think it's up to us though to say like, this is a business. This is the business boundary right now. And like, this is how, you know, we're each going to behave in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Gotta get it done. Yeah. You won't have a job for everybody if you're not getting the money in the door. So you know, no one's going to be your friend then if you have to fire everybody. Yeah. So it's a big responsibility that we carry as business owners. And there's a lot of different things that we are weighing that not everybody's going to see it from your point of view. Of course not. You have the most access to the most information. Yeah. They're just thinking about their one thing, right? Their one class, their one issue, their one perspective. So it's just important to have that strength. You know, in Buddhism, they talk about a soft front and a hard back. You have to be loving and caring and generous and always have your heart open. But at the same time, if you don't have that foundation of knowing who you are, knowing where you want to go, being able to articulate that, just fall apart. You're just a wet noodle. Right. So that strong back of really knowing who you are and what you stand for.
That's such a great visualization. Because I was going to ask, like, what advice do you have, you know, for female business owners because a lot of our conversation today is also been like, how do you stay in your body and stay and feel sexy and feel like a woman, right? And then also manage this business. And of course, there's no one perfect answer, right? But I think that is such an amazing visualization of just, you know, soft front, hard back. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, there you go.
I love that. That's so awesome. Okay, Sadie, before we get into rapid fire questions, how can people take your class? I mean, obviously, I think everybody knows of 305, but where can they find you? Say hi, you know, say how much they love the episode.
Thank you.
Where can people go?
Instagram, TikTok, online. So check out 305fitness.com. That's where you'll find our class schedule. So we have live classes in New York, DC. We have a pop-up in Miami. We'll launch one soon in LA. We have digital classes. We have teacher trainings. So for any fitness instructors out there listening, you're looking to add a modality, you're looking to boost your confidence, you're looking to make more money. The teacher training is also an incredible toolkit, and it's just one day. So would highly recommend that. Yeah, getting certified with us. 305fitness.com.
I love that. Yeah. And guys, if you haven't tried a class, if you're not in a location, definitely pop online. The online classes carry the exact same energy. It's definitely not like one of those classes where, you know, you're like, oh God, this is a Zoom workout. It really doesn't feel like that. So definitely.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yes. Okay. Sadie, rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Number one favorite song to work out to?
Oh, I would say anything with Lizzo these days, the new album.
I love that. Software that you can't run your business without.
So this is silly, but Calendly, that just schedules your calendar. So I highly recommend it. It's not really for my business. It's more for me. Yeah. Calendly, check it out. Love it.
I think calendar software is like one of the best things our generation has been blessed with. It's so 100%. It's such a lifesaver.
Reduce that back and forth time.
Yeah, I love it. Best business advice you ever got?
Ooh, so much good advice. But I would just say, just go for it. You know, you're not going to know until you try. You might fail. It's okay. Give yourself that permission. Just keep going, hang in there, and just keep going for it. You'll know when it's the end. Until you get there, keep going.
Yeah. Sort of in the same vein, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Don't be afraid to have those difficult conversations with people. You know, not everyone is going to meet your expectations, and that's okay. And people will come and go, and that's okay. And the story of 305 is long and winding. So don't get too caught up in any one relationship or conversation. You know, girl, you're still standing at the end of this.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. I love that. All right. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Paris.
Ooh.
Yes.
Maybe a 305 pop up in Paris.
Oh, I love that.
I love that. Dream job besides what you're doing right now, like something crazy.
Okay. So, I love kids. So I would say a preschool teacher that gets paid a lot of money because I don't know if you know this, but preschool teachers make like less than nannies.
Yes.
Like it's crazy.
Isn't that crazy?
A preschool teacher that gets like a 6-figure salary. That's my dream job.
I love that. I know. I remember somebody did the math one time and it was like, you make like $15 a day per kid or something.
It's
and I was
just
like,
crazy.
I couldn't babysitting like 20, and it's so much more than babysitting, right? But like,
oh my God. And you often like share a room with another teacher, but oh my gosh, the love, like these kids are so freaking cute. I just love kids. So that would be a happy place to be.
Oh, I love that. Okay. And then last question. One lesson that you took from the pandemic that you want to keep with you?
Oh, work isn't everything.
Yeah.
For this business podcast, it's not everything, you know. Success comes and goes. Don't get too attached to your success. Don't get too attached to your failures.
Yeah.
Life is long and, you know, anything can happen. So be sure to have hobbies and other things that fill your cup.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's important too. You know, you said it's a business podcast. Like it's such an interesting thing because it's a podcast though, where people have turned their passions into business. And I think so that is it can be a slippery slope. Right.
Of
course.
I
think that's something I always want to keep bringing to this is like, this is a business started from passion and love and joy. Like, how do we keep that in the heart? And the business sort of surrounds that as opposed to, you know, letting the joy sort of fall away.
Yes.
I love that. Sadie, this has been so fun. I'm so happy that we got to meet and hopefully so much more to come. Thank you so much. And yeah, I can't wait to have you back on or on a panel or something really fun.
Thank you. Yeah, so nice to meet you, Alexa. Rock on.
All right, guys, you made it to the end of the episode. Thank you so much for being here. It means the world to me. If you haven't left a review yet, I would be so, so grateful. I read every single one and they help me, they help the podcast, they help my visibility. So definitely encourage you to do that. And if the content of the episode was relevant to you, if it helped you with your business, I would love it if you shared it to your stories or if you sent it to a friend. That is it. I will see you next week. And again, thank you so much for being here.